So I do not have on file what Travin Hill has already attempted. We have it from this current selection of summer of 2023, and so we've moved forward with a clean slate from there. We do have Jade on the phone, so I'm going to be speaking with my headset in. I can't hear you the other way, and just wanted to reiterate that this will be recorded because I don't think Jade heard that. So I do not have that on file. We looked at it from a new perspective starting in the summer of 2023. That's when this was selected as this round of traffic calming. But I do have, we have several people on our team that have been around the traffic calming program pretty long time. We can go back in the records as well. Oh, perfect. Awesome.
You knew, or if everybody here
knows. Oh, perfect. Yeah. Well, then I will happily take any ideas that came from then, anything that you have seen because you had experience with the program previously. But we're going to go through the program. It's kind of been revamped over the last couple of years. We've made some iterations. So go through the program kind of as a whole, give an overview of what the program is, overview of kind of what are the tools in the program's toolbox right now, the way the program currently is, and then go through the concept for Cabin Hill Road, just so everybody can be aware of this is kind of what we're thinking, and then we can get your feedback, questions, comments. You can say, yeah, we love it. No, we don't. No, we need to look this direction. Whatever y'all want to say. And then as far as questions and comments, there is a time at the end for questions and comments, but also if y'all want to say anything as we're going, you feel free to speak up and we can facilitate that as well. So.
Did you dial in virtual?
Yes. Yes. Currently, there's one participant that is online other than me and George. This is George here. He works with me at Kinley Horn. He'll be monitoring all the people that are online, any questions in the chat. So if you hear George speak up, it's somebody that is online asking questions. Perfect. All right. Starting with the Cabin Hill Road Neighborhood Street Traffic Calming Program meeting, April 22nd, roughly 6 o'clock. And we are at the Lebanon Road Church of Christ, and then we do have a virtual option as well. And like I said, this is being recorded, so it will be available for viewing later on via the Nashville Department of Transportation YouTube channel. So moving on to the next slide, just starting with an overview of what is traffic calming. The Neighborhood Street Traffic Calming Program, it focuses on residential streets like Cabin Hill Road, and we focus on physical solutions that encourage lower speeds. We want to really make sure that we're slowing cars down to make it safe for all of the users of the roadway. And like I said, speed reduction is kind of the main thing we focus on. Speed has a really high correlation with the severity of incidents, particularly when pedestrians and bicyclists are involved with vehicles. The slower you get, the safer it is. The 3 E's of traffic calming I'll go through. The first one is education. That's things like this meeting and other ways to educate the public on what are the dangers of speeding and how we can take steps to reduce that. The second E is enforcement. That is our great partners with the Metro Nashville Police Department. They handle the enforcement section of traffic calming. And then the third E, which is near and dear to my heart as a traffic engineer, is the engineering. Big surprise there. That's what we're really going to focus on with this presentation is the actual engineering solutions for the roadway that will encourage slower speeds. So the reason we do this, like I said, is for safety. And we have a Vision Zero policy in Nashville. That is the vision that there will be 0 deaths on our roadways. So that is what we are striving towards as a city. And here's some stats about how speed is correlated with the severity of an injury with a pedestrian. If a car is going 45 miles per hour, a pedestrian only has a 35% chance of surviving that incident if one does occur. If we can get that speed down to around 25, then that pedestrian now has an 89% chance of surviving. And if they do, their injuries will be obviously a lot lessened. So that's really the goal here. Slower speeds equal safer collisions, because we do know those do happen. So we're trying to make sure that when those do happen, the injuries are much less. So this is a very popular program. We've had over 500 applications of different streets for this program. And in the summer of 2023, we were able to select 85 streets. Y'all have the blessing and the curse of being selected. The blessing is we're able to do something about the speeding problem on Cabin Hill Road, and the curse is that y'all were bad enough to actually get selected. So it's kind of hit or miss there. Yes, we actually have a great slide that's about to come up on that, in 2 slides. So before we get to that, there is Hub Nashville. That is for everything that's outside the traffic calming program. We have a list of solutions that we can implement on your roadways with the program. Some neighborhoods want to have a little bit more, want to do something else. Anything like that needs to go through Hub Nashville. That's the best way to reach the right department at the National Department of Transportation. Or if you have anything else related to the city. I personally have used it to fix sidewalk that was broken in front of my house. So it's great for reaching out to any of those departments with any other needs. And on to the prioritization. So this is how we select streets. So we have a matrix here with different weighting for 5 different categories. The biggest one is vehicular speeds. That is the main thing, the main driver of why we pick a street. That accounts for 45% of the matrix. The next one's volume. That's 25%, which the higher the volume, the more chance there is of collision. The other ones are vulnerable user injury fatality data, non-driver accommodations like sidewalks. If you have a sidewalk, you're less likely to walk in the street, that sort of thing. And then trip destinations, churches, schools, parks, your restaurants, that sort of thing. All of that gets incorporated as well. So that is how we selected Cabin Hill Road. Is we took all of those applications, ran them through our matrix, collected data on all these streets, and then selected the ones we felt had the highest need based on the numbers. So here are the numbers that got your street selected, from Cabin Hill Road from Fairbrook Drive to McGavick. The 85th percentile speed at 36 miles an hour was the main driver. That is pretty high for a neighborhood street. That is not a safe street, or not a safe number for a neighborhood street. Not safe to be driving around kids or anything like that. So that's really the main driver there. Volume on Cabin Hill is relatively low, about 650 vehicles. And then that's per day. Sorry, that is a slight typo. 650 vehicles a day. Yeah, per day. That's vehicles per day. Yes. And then Cabin Hill Road does have a fairly narrow street width of about 20 to 23. So that's pretty good. Narrower roads tend to be for slower vehicles. But that 85th percentile speed, which for anybody that doesn't know or doesn't live in traffic world, that means that 85% of cars are at that speed or below it. So that's the main engineering design speed, is the 85th percentile. So that's just a location map of Cabin Hill Road. I'm sure y'all are all fairly familiar. And then you can see this is from our tracker. So all the other streets on the tracker are either applications or projects that have been implemented. This is online as well at the Nashville Traffic Calming website. You can go to this tracker and see all the other streets around Davidson County that have either applied or had traffic measures installed. So going into our program toolkit, these are the ways that we do slow speeds down on our neighborhood streets. The first one, and this is our main one, this is the bread and butter. This is the one that we know works and we love to use just because it has great results. It is the speed cushions. They are a modular rubberized device. They do have the gaps between them, which allow for like ambulances and fire trucks to not be as impeded, but still for smaller cars, really for all main cars you see on the road, their wheelbases aren't as wide as like a fire truck. They can't straddle them, but they do have the gaps that allow the ambulances and fire trucks to be less impeded. They're 3 inches high. They are about 6 feet wide, and we have 3 different options for how long they are. Depending on the street that we are looking at, we can vary that to try to hit a certain speed. The next one that we do use, not as much as the cushions, just because of the impact to emergency vehicles, is the speed tables. The difference between this and the cushions are the gaps. So we typically like to stay away from these unless for some reason we need to, instead of using the cushions. But that is a tool in our toolbox. So like I said, these things work. You can see here, this is actual data from March of 2023, where we took before and after data on 6 different streets around Nashville, trying to figure out how much these impacted speeds. The average speed over on the left before was 31 miles an hour. We were able to get it down to 22. And then the 85th percentile speed was 37, which is very similar to the 36 that you see on Cabin Hill Road. We were able to get that down to 25. That's a lot safer for everybody involved, trying to get those speeds down to a decent speed for a neighborhood street. We're not going to use these on highways or arterials or anything like that. These are streets that you should be going slow anyway, watching out for pedestrians, bicyclists, things of that nature. Another tool we have in our toolkit is the radar feedback signs. These do have an average speed reduction about 6 miles per hour on average speeds and 7 miles per hour with the 85th. They are really good. We can't use speed cushions due to the geometry of roadways. Typically like curbs, hills, things like that where we can't use a cushion, we can use a radar feedback sign. And they mostly work by alerting drivers that, hey, you don't realize that you're going downhill and you picked up speed as you're coasting. So they do a really good job. I know personally, I pay a lot of attention to these as I'm driving around because I don't realize how fast I'm going. And I see that, oh, I need to slow down. But they don't have a physical component like a speed cushion that requires you to slow down. So we do like to use the cushions more, but these are great for instances where you can't due to the geometry of the roadway. The next one is narrowing with pavement markings. Typically, it's these white edge lines that we like to install. Kind of visually narrow the road. It creates a psychological effect where you want to drive a little slower. We like to do these on wider streets. Cabin Hill Road is a little bit narrower, so it's not really an option here. But we do like to use those on wider streets. Another thing we like to do similar on wider streets are bulb outs and then 2-lane stripe chicanes over here. These work with bulb outs work by, once again, narrowing the roadway, trying to create a visual impact. And then the 2-lane chicane works by creating horizontal deflection. So you have to slow down to go through the road instead of just having a straight shot where you can just go. Those are great devices, once again, for wider streets where you have a lot of pavement to work with. You can install these and it does create a calming effect on the roadway. The other one that we do have in the toolbox is a traffic circle. Those are good for very wide intersections, once again, going on the horizontal deflection route, or you have to deflect around the circle to go through it. You can't just blow through it without slowing down. So that's a great use for a wide intersection. Let's see, and then this is the current concept for Cabin Hill Road. It is a very long stretch, so it looks like a lot, but it is 8 sets of cushions with a radar feedback sign in the middle, and the radar feedback sign is due to grade. There is a decent amount of grade change, and then we do have a bulb out that is proposed on McGavick. The cushions are spaced at around 400 to 500 feet. Engineering study says that's close enough that you keeps people down at a slower speed, but not too close that you're constantly going over them, trying to find that happy medium. And once again, this is to try to slow down the speeds on the roadway, not necessarily trying to divert traffic or anything like that. So this is the current concept. So before I move forward, are there any questions while we have it up on screen, or would you like me to finish on and then come back? Yes, that is a common question. So officially, stop signs are not speed control devices. They are safety control devices, typically for sight distance or volume. So we can't actually use those for speed control. So that's not a tool in the traffic calming toolbox. Those are more of a like safety for intersection type deal. They do. So you can't officially use a stop sign as a traffic or as a speed reduction device, because if you do, there does create a propensity for people to ignore them. So if you just start adding stop signs over and over again, people tend to pay less attention to them. Also, there is a guidance on stop signs that specifically says that you cannot use them as a speed control device at the federal level. So that's why we like to use the speed cushions. Correct. Yes, going back to Hub Nashville, if you do have something like a request for a stop sign, that is a very common request at Hub Nashville, and that goes to the engineering or the traffic engineering department at NDOT, and they can do a study to determine if a stop sign is warranted. There are a list of warrants you have to hit to be able to install a stop sign. And the council member is correct. We have I'm a consultant working for Kinley Horn that is contracted to NDOT to provide traffic calming designs. Typically, that is the speed cushion layout that you see in front. Yes.
Yeah.
Donahue.
No, we've never requested a stop sign.
Well, that, I was just curious if we never.
No, we've
Mhm. Mhm.
Metro about not. So I had traffic signs.
Mhm.
One going down Cabin Hill on the right hand side. So,
Mhm. Yep. Absolutely. So that's going back to the physical solutions with the cushions versus something like a signage.
Having wheelers instead of. And I, you know.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. Mhm. Yeah. Gotcha.
I don't know how to sell this.
Understood. So, yes. So, absolutely. So, first, I would like to say if you do have any issues with water line, like repaving or anything, please put that into Hub Nashville so we can get it into our system. That's the best way for Nashville Department of Transportation to communicate with residents. There was a question on where these are placed. Um, so what we do is we look at the stretch as a whole, and do a divisor by how the spacing that we're supposed to have the cushions at 400 to 500 feet. And then we go through trying to gab that spacing, and place the cushions along the route based on, you can't put them in curves, you can't put them on steep hills. So it's got some hills. Yeah. That's, yeah. So you can see, yeah. So there's a section with the radar feedback sign. That is why we had to use this. Yes. Yeah. 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 It's
That's exactly
yes.
what I would say.
The R is on the hill. Correct. Yeah, correct. So yeah, so we have 5 sets of cushions on the northernmost, I guess, table, flatter section of road.
Yeah.
And there is a hill where we are not able to put cushions, so we do have a radar feedback sign. Once again, like I said, trying to alert drivers that they're coasting and going too fast. That is a good thing to note. So like I said, we developed this based on the spacing of the 400 to 500 feet. So that flatter section is around 1,500 to 2,000 feet. So that's 3 sets of cushions.
There's people.
Yeah, so that is another reason we do want the cushions, as if we have people walking and things. Understood. That is yeah, gotcha. Sir, I know you had a question as well. Lincoln. That is a great question. Yes. So
Be about the same.
So we have noticed that as well, and that is something, like I said, how the traffic calming program is evolving. That is something that we greatly consider. So what we do is we look for curb and gutter first, trying to make sure that there is a physical barrier so people can't go around the cushions. And if there isn't a physical barrier there, we make sure that there is signage that does not allow cars to go around. So that is one thing we greatly focus on, is making sure that people stay in the roadway and do not tear up residents' yards. So if there is not a curb and gutter section, then we do have signage at the cushion locations to force people to not be able to go around them. And
If there is any.
Yeah. Hmm. Correct. So that is something we've added on the last couple of selections to make sure that we're focusing on, because we have noticed that issue. So like I said, we are evolving as a program and trying to get better. And that is one of the things that we are focusing on with this round of selections and moving forward. Mhm.
There's no curb whatsoever.
Yeah.
We're flooded.
That that is definitely a drainage issue. And that would be something great to put into Hub Nashville as well, to get to the right people at Metro Water so they can go and evaluate the drainage and see if they can do something about getting that water off the road. Yes.
So,
Correct. Mhm. Okay.
I didn't know.
So we typically do not do that unless there is a really valid reason. I typically prefer to have the signage on the sides. That's a little bit higher, retro or reflective, and that way you can know that they're there via the signage there. And we do place them. We have them at every cushion if there is a way to go around it, and if there's not a way, then we place them to where anytime you turn onto the roadway, you have to see a sign before you see a set of cushions. But unless there are any other pressing questions at the moment, I would like to go ahead and go through the rest of the presentation, and then we can always circle back to the concept design once we go through the process moving forward. So this is the flow chart of how the program works for the neighborhood street traffic calming program. It starts with that application. Then there is that data process and selection that we talked about with the matrix of variables. This is the first neighborhood meeting where we present our design without talking to the community, because we want to look at it from an engineering standpoint of what we think is best to slow the speeds down, and then talk to y'all so we can understand the exact community input and things that we need to know. After this meeting, we go back and refine the design based on y'all's comments, based on communication with the council member, and then looking to make sure that we're still good from an engineering standpoint. After the design phase, if y'all would like a second meeting, we're happy to come back and say, we started with the concept, we talked about it with y'all, and this is what we came up with from a final design standpoint. Is this what you're wanting? And then we're happy to do that. If not, what you can do is you can say, we're good with the concept as is. We trust y'all, just finalize the design on the concept as it was, go straight to ballot. That does save you a couple months on the time frame. Like the council member said, this is a very popular program and there is a queue for construction. So it kind of helps you jump space a little bit. But that is completely up to what y'all want to do, if you want to have a second meeting or not. After the second meeting, we go to an online ballot. That will be a mailer that will be sent out to allow you to vote on, yes, I want this, or no, I do not. And to be able to install the traffic calming measures on your street, that online ballot has to pass with a 66% threshold. And that is of the people that vote. So if there are 3 people that vote, we need 2 yeses. If there are 100 people that vote, we need 66 yeses. So it completely depends on who votes. After the ballot, assuming it does pass, then it would get into queue for construction. And that is currently a pretty big backlog. It is a very popular program, and there were some supply chain issues that we were still sorting through. We are rapidly shrinking that queue, but it still is a long queue. So that's about 8 to 10 months right now from the time the ballot passes to actually seeing the product be implemented on your street. So the ballot looks very similar to the postcard. It does have a unique ID code for everybody to have, so you can't vote twice. And like I said, you do have to have a 66% positive vote to be able to install the measures. Yes. Yes. So it is residential properties, churches, and schools. All of them get 1 vote. If you own multiple houses on the street, you get 1 vote, even though you own multiple properties. Renters are not eligible. You own. Renters are not eligible. It's only the owners of the property. And then obviously vacant properties are not eligible. If there's not a house or a school or a church on the property, they do not get a vote. And then businesses also do not get a vote. It is purely a neighborhood project. So it is for the neighbors and the owners of the houses, schools, and churches.
1 vote per household.
1 vote per household. I'm happy to repeat it. So it's 1 vote per household, and each house has its own unique ID. So there is an ID that is individualized to every single owner, and that ID gets 1 vote. That's how we track it. So that is the presentation. So this is my personal or my work email. Feel free to email me at harrison.turner@kimley-horn.com. If you have any questions outside of this, feel free to take a picture or write it down. The other one, which is probably even a little better than emailing me personally, is emailing NDOT TrafficCalming.Nashville.gov. What they do, that goes directly to NDOT. And then if they have questions I need to be a part of, they loop me in. I am the program manager or project manager for this particular project. So anything Cabin Hill Road related does come through me. So thank you very much. And this is a QR code for the Traffic Calming website. If you want to scan that, you can go through all the different resources that the Traffic Calming program has. And like I said, this will be recorded and posted on YouTube. The best way personally I found to find it is to go to this website, and then there is a video link on the bottom that sends you straight to the page. So are there any questions or anything we want to go over again? Yes, start right here. Correct. Yes. Yes, we do have minimum distances from the driveways. I do believe off the top of my head, so I think off the top of my head, it's 15 feet from the center of the cushion to the center, or to the edge of the driveway, center of the driveway. But there is a minimum distance there, and we're not going to put a cushion in front of a driveway. We don't want you to be backing over cushions every day trying to get in and out. So there is a distance that allows you to back out of your driveway and get going. Some neighborhoods that's a lot more challenging than others, and that is part of that final design standpoint, where we take this concept and we actually go out into the field. George has been out probably 600 times. That's a slight exaggeration, but with tape measures and rollers and actually measure out exactly where these cushions go to make sure that we're not going to be a burden to anybody getting in and out of their driveway. So there is a minimum. I do believe it is 15 feet, but that is off the top of my head. So please forgive me if I'm off by a little bit. Yes, I do believe you had a question.
Yeah, I wasn't clear.
Yes. So this is the ballot that you will receive. It does have a QR code and a website ID. So if you scan the QR code or type in that website, it does go to an online. And like I said, there's a unique ID code at the bottom right. And then there is, if you have any issues voting online, you can always call the traffic calming program and do it by phone. They will be happy to help do that. But we do try to have it online. It makes it a lot easier for really us and for y'all to be able to vote the way you want to, and us to count it. Yes, absolutely.
So severe problems with ice.
Mhm.
Talk to me about what.
Gotcha. So we actually had several debates about snowplows and how all of that happens. Yeah, so that's yeah. So just wanted you to know this is a conversation that we as a team, a traffic calming team, me and my other consultants and the NDOT staff have talked about a decent bit. So ice on the streets, they are raised 6 inches. They do tend to divert water as much as possible. They do. I mean, any surface that does get rained on and then it freezes can have a little bit of ice. But it being raised, it wouldn't be as bad as like it being in a sump or anything like that.
Does that, what's your, manage that? Or get down?
Yeah. So we have standards that don't let them put us. We have a grade maximum, and that is set by the manufacturer that does install these all over the U.S. Yes. Yes. So I'll go back to the actual. I think I passed it. Yes, that one right here is what is on the downhill side of the hill. So as you're coming down the hill, you'll get a giant flashing, "Hey, you're going too fast. Slow down, please." And going to this. Yes. Yes. Mhm. Mm. So they can come out. All right, council member answered. I'll be honest with you, we have. Yes. So correct. Mhm. Yes. Mm. Correct. Absolutely. Let's go to the actual measures and thing. So they are 3 inches tall, and they are rubber, so they do have a little bit of give to them. So yeah. Yeah. So they are You can go over them at, so it is or they're signed at 20. You can go over them there. It is not comfortable. Yeah, it's not as comfortable at 20. But they're only 3 inches tall. They are rubber, so they do have a little bit of give. You can go over them, and it does not create damage to the car if you're going over them at a reasonable speed. We do only select streets that are posted 30 or under, and that is per the manufacturer recommendation along with other studies. So if you're hitting them at 70, I can't guarantee your car is going to be okay. But if you're going over them at a reasonable speed for the cushions, you should be fine.
What's your,
400 to 500 feet. Correct.
so that's what they.
Yes.
It's okay. Choose to own.
We
Say it here, so. 2 months. Okay.
Yes. So we have I'm going back. I'm sorry, I cannot do this. There it goes.
So let me ask everybody.
Okay. Yeah. So okay. Understood. Not a problem. Yes. The I do. George, do you have it? Can you pull that up? Yeah. Yeah. I want to say it's around 4,500. Yeah. But yes. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. You said.
People playing.
I don't think we can do
Walking
that.
ahead.
I still have to see it. That's good.
Oh no, you're perfectly fine. So I have
If I,
yes, yes, yeah. So what we can do, yeah. Yeah. So what I can do, as part of the final design, we do have zoomed in blow ups where we actually go through and place them, and we give distances from driveways as part of our final design. That is that design section after this meeting where we go out, like, well, George goes out and takes everything off. So we do have, that is, we would have a chance to talk about it with the blowups as part of the second meeting. Also, that design, if you choose to skip the second meeting, that design does go online where you could see it all as part of your voting. But once we do go to ballot, if you did have any changes y'all wanted to make, that would obviously the design's already done at that point.
There's no, like, one design.
So that is how the program is run, is there's one design that is voted on. If there's anything outside the program that you want, you can put it through Hub Nashville, or talk with your council member. But as far as the program, we do present one design to the community, and have the community vote on it, which once again is the property owners of the people that live, are the property owners of the properties that are on the street, churches and schools.
This is the
This, yeah, so this design right here is a concept. Yeah. So yeah, correct. Yeah, so absolutely. So So we do have to create, you can see top left, that is 3 cushions, which the street I don't think is quite wide enough for. We do keep them all in a line, and that keeps people from having to try to drive around them into the opposite lane. So, and we do, when you say driveways get spaced really closely, we look at the closer spacing. So if there's 2 driveways close together on one side and they're wide on the other, we're going to pay attention to the ones that are close together to make sure that we're not putting them in front of any driveway so that they're getting backed over. Yes. So that is a bulb out, and that is right here. It's the picture on the left. So that is a little bit of striping and vertical delineators trying to really bring the radiuses in so that you can't take a wide turn onto McGavick off Cabin Hill.
You have room.
Because it is an intersection with McGavick, we're able to bring the striping in to try to narrow up that radius. So there's a little bit of space there. Not a ton of space, but there is enough that we think we can do some striping.
Second
Yes,
is if you put some
correct. Yes. So that's a great picture up on the top left here. You see how the signs are there to keep people from driving into the road. Fire trucks and ambulances, their wheelbase between the tires is wider than like a typical truck, car, SUV. So they are able to kind of straddle the speed cushion, but still stay in their lane. So they're not going to go around the speed cushion. They're going to more or less straddle it. If you try to do that, like I have a decently large SUV and I still can't straddle them. One tire is going to be on it no matter what. Yes.
back to the
But yeah, the bulb out. See, that is a great thing to know, and that is one of the things, like the councilman was saying, that we can look at the design as we're talking today and make some changes, because we want to talk with you about it. So that's absolutely, yeah. And the other thing we can do is we can do just paint instead of doing the paint and the post. So if school traffic does get around it, they would back into the channelization, so that wouldn't be a big problem for them. But it would still create a visual narrowing and make people try to take the turn at a sharper radius, which makes it a little bit slower. So we can do that as well. Yes, yeah. So the goal is to try to narrow it down and make it a slower movement.
things are all. They all go
So that is that's not the typical process. You do have a very active council member that is in great communication with me. I really appreciate you, by the way. No. So if that's something your council member would want to facilitate, that would be up to you. That's not the typical process. The typical process is leaving this meeting, we would say, yes, you want me to come back and present the new design, or no, you'd want to go straight to ballot. I am happy to come back and present the second design. It does push you back in the queue a little bit, but if that's something that y'all want to see and then talk about before going. I do post the design online. We do that when we submit or when we send out the ballots. Yes, so I'll post the design and send you a ballot and say, here is the final design based on the concept that we presented and your feedback. But would you like it or not? Or what we can do is have a second meeting. I can come back and say, based on y'all's feedback, we know we got rid of the delineators and the bulb out. We maybe looked at removing a cushion or so to try to get that spacing closer to that 500. And then we'll come back. This is where they are. They're nice and blown up with individual things by driveways so that y'all could see it. So that's really the two options there.
If there's
Oh, you right now. No, that is the other option is if you're fine with what we've got and or what the community. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
If you ever going out physically, put some markers, so all of us.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. So the feedback is through the meetings. Yeah. You. So it does take. So going back to the schedule, it does take a little bit to get the plan done. So we typically slate 2 months. And that is because there is a 2-week turnaround on the mailers to get to the second meeting. And then we have to do some design work on our end. We have to make sure that the spacings that we come up with out in the field work for all of the design considerations, make sure that we're hitting all of our studies. So it does take a little bit of time, but it's about a month or two. Yes, yeah. So it's about a month delay. Yeah, it's about a month delay. Mm. Yeah, yeah. So yeah. So it did. That was that was a miscommunication on my end. Yeah. So we sent a mailer out to every property in yellow, which are all the affected houses. Well, all the houses that can get a vote. So as the people that live on the street. As part of the program, we only ballot people that actually are part of the segment of street that we are looking at. Because you're the ones that are going to be living and playing and having your kids play near the street and everything. So you're the ones that really are affected the most and the ones we want the input from. So this is the map of everybody that did get a mailer for this meeting. Yes. So it does not go to the renter. It goes to the owner of the property. So yeah, so we send them to whoever is the listed owner of the property and their address. So if it is, or yeah, yeah. So yeah, it could be Arizona, Iowa. If somebody outside owns it and rents it, it'll go to the owner wherever they do live. They can weigh in since they do own the property. And like the council member says, based on the tax records of who owns it. And that's really the way that we've been doing this program. There's, it is what it is. I do not know how many renters there are. So we only include the property owners for a couple different reasons. But so it is the owners, schools and churches.
Where would you say?
To the owner of the Airbnb. Yeah,
Um. Lower in Cavern Hill.
Yes.
Help.
So yeah, so what we do, so this is a map of all of the residents that we look at. We do go through and filter out businesses, vacant lots, things of that nature. So anybody that's not eligible does get filtered out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So this map actually is the Metro Nashville parcel viewer, which is a free GIS tool online. So what you do is you can take that tool and then just draw your circle, which is what we did with our orange line there, and it selects all the properties. Yeah.
Map where you.
So I have sent a copy of this presentation to your council member in PDF form that you can blow up. And then also this will be, this entire presentation is online on video. And I do believe the concept does get posted online as well. So we can happy to send out PDFs of this presentation, which does include the map that you can blow up. Yeah, so what we do is we take, sorry, going back to the design. We take this, and this is kind of ideal situation based on engineering numbers without input from the community. This is what we came up with. We go out there in the field, we go through and measure off exactly where these are, trying to get as close to the concept as we can while still accounting for driveways, mailboxes, that sort of thing. So then we come and taking in y'all's input, we may add a cushion, take away a cushion. We've had people that say, 400 feet is too far. We want them tighter. We've had people that say that's way too many cushions. We want, one less on either side. So we take all of that into consideration when we go out in the field and actually measure them off. And then we present that. That would be, yes, unless you choose a second meeting where I present it to y'all in the second meeting. And then we can have any further comments. Typically at the second meeting, there's more or less the community is either in favor or not by that point. And because we try to do a good job of taking in all of the considerations of the community, because at the end of the day, you do get to vote. It is your project. It's your streets where you live and play and work, and where your kids and everything live and play. So we want what's best for y'all, but it is y'all's choice. So I'll be honest, based on the kind of the concerns I'm hearing, it probably would be easiest to have a second meeting. But if you want to wait and we wait for the cones, I can always delay when we send out the cards for the second meeting until after that is communicated to me by the council member. So if that is what is wanted for us to go out there and say, hey, they're going to be here, and here, we put some we put some cones or something up so y'all could go see it. And then you can coordinate with the council member to say, hey, yes, we like it. No, we want to have a second meeting and relook at things. We can do that as well. Or if you want to, we could just go ahead and commit to the second meeting. I can go through, relook at this, get with George. We can go out there and stake it all off and still let you see it, and then we can come back and have it. Either way is fine with me. Like I said, I'm happy to come out here and talk with y'all. Y'all are a great community. I'm always happy when people show up. This is one of the big. Yeah. So what we do is if y'all want a second meeting, we can just go ahead and have it. We typically, it's kind of the second meeting, we typically have it if anybody wants it. So if like one person wants a second meeting, it's like, yes, we need it, then we're gonna come back out and have it if it's just for that person. So y'all are a great community, by the way. This is a fantastic turnout compared to a lot of other streets I've been a part of. I want to thank y'all for being here first. Yeah, yeah, just,
Okay. Move forward as it is.
sounds like second. Yeah, we'll have a second meeting. Absolutely.
I see that.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. 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 So so George has also been taking notes the whole time. So we will take the bulb out. Yeah. So we will take the bulb out and look at maybe doing that with just striping or even just taking it out if we don't think that's going to be effective. So the second meeting will be a refinement. So we'll have exactly where they are in relation to driveways, in relation to properties. We'll have an exact number. Yeah. So what we do, like when we're in the field, so like I said, we haven't gone in the field yet. So we it's 5 and 3 right now. We go in the field and we go out and place them. And if there are driveways or things that we can't quite see yet, that may have to slide something some way that may slightly affect the number. So that's really it. It does seem that everybody is more or less on board with the idea in general. I know there's been some ups and downs on the number and things, but this is like I said, from an engineering design, without being out in the field and looking at the really nitty-gritty details, this is really the spacing and everything that would promote the slow, safe speeds for everybody to be on the roadway.
And we just.
Yes. So the second meeting will provide that detail. Yeah. 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 So I actually, so my street currently is in the queue to get construction. I live over in East Nashville, and I actually was hoping that I would put one in front of that I would get one in front of my house. Unfortunately, I didn't get to design my own street, but I did want one directly in front of my house so I could say I've got it and it's okay. Yes.
Yeah, they have those.
Yes. They're also there is the traffic calming GIS website that does have all of our traffic calming projects. You can go on there and click the different roads and see where they are installed all over town, and you can go right over them. I highly suggest doing it to get the feel if you haven't ridden over one. So that way you kind of know what you're getting before you go through. Yes. Mhm. So, yeah. So, yeah. So They're not silent. Typically with that spacing, it doesn't allow for people to like really hit the gas and accelerate. You just can't get up to a speed without slowing down immediately. So it's not like the speeding away, that it's more the just they aren't silent because you are driving over them. They are rubber, they're not concrete, so they have a little bit of give, which helps a little bit, but I'm not gonna lie to you, they're not silent. Yes. So we do track. We're currently in the process of getting GIS IDs on all of them. So we are tracking them. We do have a stock of them that we're trying to build up so we can do more maintenance activities. But if you ever see one that is an issue, please put it into Hub Nashville or email NDOT TrafficCalming.Nashville.gov. Let us make sure that we're aware of it. Davidson County is a pretty big county. And we do have a lot of these on different streets because this is a very popular program. So if you ever see anything like that, feel free to email us, let us know that it needs to get fixed. We'll happily go get with our contractors, get a crew out there to remedy it. They are modular, so they've got individual little pieces. We can go out and sub out a piece if like a bolt's getting loose or there's been an epoxy that's gone off or something like that. So we can maintenance them with our staff. All right, and I'm speaking on behalf of NDOT at that point. Yep. George.
See that traffic flow.
Yeah. So, yeah. So it doesn't take away lanes with the bulb outs. It just narrows the turning radius around. So you can still make all the movements. You just have to do them slower. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Gotcha. So that is a interesting design consideration. That is something we'll look out in the field when we go out there, and we'll look at that. So there is, I guess, a balancing act then of being able to make it up the hill in inclement weather and still not being able to go, 30 miles an hour. So we'll look at that in further detail, but I don't have an answer for that at this time. Yes. Got you. That is a fantastic question. Yeah. So they do have mm, yeah. So they do have like has been pointed out, they do have the retroreflective white on the front of the cushion that does shine off when headlights hit it. And then we do have signage, particularly with this being a non-curb section. It's more than likely we're going to have signage at every set of cushions. So there should be plenty of warning. And then if there isn't signage at every cushion, like I said, we have to have signage every time there's a roadway turning on, which says speed cushions ahead, so you know that they're there. As far as I am aware, I don't know if that has been an issue as far as getting hit by drunk drivers and losing control. That would be something that we'd have to look into, like digging into police reports and things, which is a little bit outside of what we typically look at. But as far as I am aware, I don't know if that has been a concern. But there is adequate signage. There is retroreflective white triangles on all the cushions to make sure you can see them. And then like I said, there are physical measures that do slow speed. So hopefully people that are trying to go really fast can't, which would be nice. Yes. Yes, we can. We absolutely can. As long as, like I said, there is adequate signage to let you know there is a cushion there. We can definitely look at, if there is a stretch where we can, just have a sign on one and then a sign a couple up, and then maybe have the middle with the white poles. I typically like the signs because they're a little bit sturdier. The white poles are flexible technically, so you can run them over. Signs are not as flexible. But if that's something from an aesthetic standpoint, that is something applicable that we can install. Yes, yeah. So we try to space them with a max of about 4 feet between the cushions. 24 feet is kind of the minimum you can get away with 3. But really at 21 to 23, you're probably looking at two cushions. And then we will double check all of that when we're out in the field, running tapes on the cross section of the roadway to see if there's any wide spots where we'd have to go to 3. But more than likely 2. Awesome. Any other questions? Oh, yes. That is a fantastic consideration and one of the great reasons we have these meetings with the people that know the street the best. Yeah. Yeah. So absolutely. Yeah. So we'll make a note of the deer crossing and see what we can do as far as trying to get a cushion at that location, as close as we can with all the other constraints. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, we can look at trying to get. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so we do. Mhm. Yeah, we can definitely consider that and try to do what we can to help that. I know deer strikes are a major concern. Um, yeah, correct. Correct. Yeah. So awesome. Yes. So what we can do is like I have emailed the presentation to your council member. I can also email you just a concept plan that you can zoom in on. And I can send you that.
But this one is not.
Yeah, so that would be after we're able to go out and do a site visit. So this is kind of like I said, this is what we look at using general distances without looking at mailbox or without looking at driveways and things of that nature. So this is more or less where they're going to be, but they may slide, a little bit one way or the other. So this is a good concept, but not the final design. Yes. So that'll be in the second meeting. Yeah. Yeah, we can
Okay.
we can work that out in the field. I feel like we'll be out together. We can work that out. Yeah. Yeah. So that is actually how they're marked for construction is there's spray paint. But it's a yeah. It's a Absolutely. Yeah, you can you can look at it, and I'm here until you know everybody's happy and I mean yeah. No, until everybody's got all of their questions answered. How about that? Yeah, so happy to leave this up, happy to talk one-on-one or anything like that. But thank you, council member. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording in the meeting. Once again, thank all of you for attending. It always makes me happy to know that the community is involved and engaged. So thank you very much.